Testing audio, testing.
Hello, Nikki.
Hi,
Oh my God, it's happening.
finally.
I know. I'm so happy. Well, I guess, pre-show chatter. How are you doing?
I'm good. This is the first time I'm using desktop on Twitter Space, so I'm really glad I can use my professional
Whoa.
microphone instead of my earbuds.
Oh my God. That's why you sound so good.
Good. I'm glad.
Oh, jealous. Yeah, I'm using my shitty Bluetooth speakers. I guess, yeah,
If it works, it
also.
works.
Yeah. I'm wearing your gear today in World, side note. And
Oh,
I'm
nice.
emoting popcorn.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. The Vroomway, I have my Vroomway zip up and my Goral pants.
Ooh, okay. She's styling.
It's on the girl gear is honestly my favorite. It's the
Thanks.
best.
I have several iterations of that I'm just kind of waiting on to publish at some point, just because I went and like hyperfixated and made a whole line of
Chill,
them.
chill, all about wearables competition. Chill. Oh,
I have a
it's
different one
the
for that.
perfect time. Ooh, oh my God. Okay, Kim, I'm bringing you up here. Get in here, girl. Send co-host. She's here. Also, Mew Mew, Sin, Lastrum, hello. Canessa, I saw that you were wearing Nikki wearables today. So lovely to see. We love to see it. Also, welcome friends Kessian. I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly. And Dubao. Lovely to see you as well. Kim, I
Look
was
at you.
just saying to
Look at you
Nikki.
starting early. Who are you?
I know. I was just like, so, oh, Harmony's in World. Harmony, lovely to see you. Come join us on X.
I'm trying to load in,
Oh,
having some issues.
I'm not gonna jinx anything.
I usually get right in with the client, but
Okay.
being testy. I think it knows because I'm live.
Oh, don't jinx
Always.
yourself. Knock on wood. Yeah, Kim, I was saying to Nikki, I'm wearing Vroomway shirt and Goral pants today, and I'm emoting popcorn in World. So I'm doing all of the Nikki things.
I love it.
I
I
know.
love it. I love it.
Kim, how are you doing today?
Oh, good. I have like a few big projects I am trying to tackle and not get sucked into things. And then I'm like, oh, spaces.
Yes.
And
Yes,
I'm like,
yes.
and then I'm like, oh, Discord. And I'm like, Kim, get out.
This is why I told you. Nikki, I sent Kim a message before we hopped on. I was like, if you're joining, you must mute all of your tabs. And I sent the gun emoji. Like,
LOL.
yeah, because like it's too easy if you're on desktop to like get distracted by everything.
Alt tabbing and everything. Yep.
Yes. Also, low poly battles, fancy harmony. So lovely to see you.
Hello,
We are
friends.
we are here with Nikki, the queen, kicking off the. I guess yeah, we can start now. This is
I
like.
would say, give it like 2 more minutes for people
Oh, got you.
to jump
Well,
on
you
in.
are the boss, so we
LOL.
we shall follow what you say. If any of you are in Decentraland right now, jump through the no diving pool. I'm here, and Harmony, I saw that you were in World in your beautiful kimono. Nikki, have you picked up any of the kimonos?
I have not. I just saw that on Twitter last
Need.
night.
Do it.
They're great.
It's a need.
Dana, can you give coordinates?
Oh, yes. I absolutely can. 01. That's where
Oh,
I'm
that
at right
makes it
now.
easy.
LOL.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Toxic, Mariana, so good to see you. Kayla, hello. Pablito, Thanos, lovely to see you all. Kim has told us, and she is, of course, the goddess of marketing at Decentraland. So we're going to wait a couple more minutes before we actually kick things off. Face Moon, hello! You are slaying these days. So good to see you. Dr. Drip! Oh my God, hello! So good to see you. Actually, for everybody, Dr. Drip is coming on next week on Wednesday with KJ from Low Poly, and we cannot wait. It's gonna be good time. Yeah, I guess. How do you feel, Kim, about kicking off now? I waited the 2 minutes.
You are
I did a good
eager. I
job.
love it.
I'm so eager. I have all these things that I want to talk to
Okay,
Nikki
you go.
about. Yay! Okay, so we today, well, first I guess I'll introduce myself. I am the social goblin at Decentraland. I think y'all know Kim. She's the head honcho of marketing, and today we are kicking off 5 weeks of celebrating fashion and digital identity in Decentraland. Uh, and it's all part of the All About Wearables campaign. There is a competition, which the theme is exotic wearables from across the galaxy, which we will get into. And there's also a party on the 19th. So, Nikki, I see you. You're looking fire. Also, I love that you're wearing wings. Justice for wings.
I love wings.
They're the best. I think that they're the best wearables. So, we're kicking this off with Nikki because Nikki is very special to the theme of All About Wearables, which is exotic. Nikki, when I like was writing my introduction for you, I literally was like, "What can't she do?" in all caps, because I feel like you've done it all. But I'd love to for you to like introduce yourself to everybody who doesn't know you.
Sure. Well, thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it. I am Nikki Fuego, wearable creator, 3D artist for Decentraland and the metaverse in general. Been doing this for just 2 months shy of 3 years, which is
Oh my
crazy.
God.
I can't
That's
believe it's been that long.
insane. Congrats. When is your like official 3 year when you
The
should do
last week in
something special?
November.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
so very,
Okay.
very close.
Oh my God. That's a huge achievement.
Yeah,
Congrats.
my first event was the Christmas event where they were doing Santa and
Love.
Krampus dropping presents, and I was fiending over all of the NFTs and foaming at the mouth.
That's amazing. Oh my God. So yeah, that you started in Decentraland, but then I did some internet stalking on you
Oh
before
God,
this. And you're also in Roblox, you do music, you're just like an all around, you're professional,
she's a
I feel
meta
like it.
girl.
Yeah, she is. So for any of you who don't know Nikki, go look at her amazing portfolio. And if you're just joining now, we would love it if you could reshare the space with your friends if you're enjoying your time. Also, we are in World. Just jump through the no diving pool. The coordinates are 0, 1. But Nikki, like, I'd love to when we first talked, you told this adorable story about jumping in and being gifted Dr. Drip's hat and kite as like your foray into wearables. And Doctor is here with us, but I would love to hear from you that experience and how you got started creating.
Yeah, so like most people in that joined Decentraland for the first time, we somehow always end up at Wondermine. I don't know how or why that happens, but it's like this phenomenon where everybody is
Wait, I
like
love
goes there
that.
immediately. And so that's where I went, and immediately I was like hooked into the Wondermine game because I was like, oh my God, this is kind of sticky, this is kind of fun. I'm just
Let's
mining meteoroids.
go.
And then I saw that you
I'm
could
getting
claim.
that you're the person that gets distracted by mini games in
Oh, I
games.
am,
Yeah.
especially if there's like a reward that I can grind for. I saw the
Love.
machine that was like crafting, and I was like, are these like just things that you equip? And then I got into the whole like researching of like what an NFT was. And I was like, okay, so this is like an NFT platform. Like, I don't know what that means, but like, let's go for it. And so I just was walking around, and there was this one guy. He used to be in my Discord, but hasn't been really active in a really long time. But his name was Dog something. It wasn't Dog Man, but it was somebody else Dog. And he just started talking to me out of nowhere. And so I responded because I was like, okay, this is cool. People are talking. And then he was kind of explaining to me like what the platform was, what wearables were. And then when he told me that like these wearables that everybody was wearing were made by creators and they just published them, my mind was blown because I was like, wait a minute. Like that's literally all I've ever wanted from a video game is for us to be able to
Stop.
equip our own stuff and like create our own stuff. And he's like, yeah. And he saw how excited I was. And he's like, let me go ahead and send you something. I didn't even know you could send things at this point. Like I was like, this was like fresh, brand new. And he sent me a
Baby.
Dr. Drip
Baby's
backwards
first
hat.
metaverse.
Literally.
Love.
Yeah. And so he sent me that. And then he sent me the kite. And I like started geeking out because I immediately could wear it. And of course, like he had to like teach me how to do it. I had to refresh a couple times to figure out how it all works because yeah, I was new.
Aw.
But then I equipped it and I was like, oh my God, this is sick. Like, this looks awesome. And then literally that same day, all of a sudden there was like this crowd around the Dr. Drip who was at Wondermine.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, this is the creator. And so I started fangirling. And it was like this whole like micro celebrity
We're
moment. And
currently
it was amazing.
fangirling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I still fangirl, but no, it was sick. And that's like just kind of how I started. I immediately got hooked. And then not long after that is when like I said, the Christmas event happened.
Yeah.
And they were raining NFTs literally on us. And so I was literally like on the computer nonstop for the first 2 or 3 weeks I was on this platform, just
She's a
geeking out.
gamer girl.
I am. I've always been, and I was hooked, girl.
That's awesome. So you had the hat and the kite. I'm so curious, like from there, did you already know like Blender? Did you already know like the creative tools that you needed?
No, I had Blender and I knew how to navigate in it because I had bought a 3D printer the year before
Oh
and I
my
had
God, I
been
want
messing
one.
with like 3D prints and stuff, but none of it was like, for video games. It was all for like practical use. So they were like hooks that you put on the walls and
Oh.
stuff like that. Like literally nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
And these are models that I'm downloading. So I'm like not modeling at all. I just know how to import, export. And so that was my first step is researching, well, how does somebody make like it didn't make sense in my head, even as an artist, it
Mm-hmm.
didn't make sense in my head, like how somebody could make something 3D. Like I just wasn't really into that world yet. And so I did some researching, and amazingly enough, KJ Walker had some
Let's
tutorials,
go.
and I
Shout
found
out
those
to Low
tutorials,
Poly.
and I literally just like nosedived straight into those tutorials, learning how to do things. And yeah, I started practicing. I spent hours, literal hours, not on just her tutorials, but like every tutorial I could find on Blender and like how to navigate, how to use the tools, how to get the basics down. I did the stupid donut tutorial where I wasted days of my life, which everybody who's an artist knows that tutorial.
This sounds like so I for a minute I was trying to make games with Unity, and like the first game that I made, I feel like everybody does the Flappy Bird
Yeah.
clone from what's his name? He's on YouTube. I can't remember, but like as whenever I said that to people like, "Oh my God, I did that too!" Like that's what I did.
Yeah.
That okay, so this is crazy information. So it's been 3 years that you've been a Blender pro.
This November, yeah. I mean,
Damn,
I
girl.
wouldn't say pro, girl. There's still a
Yeah,
lot to
but
learn.
still, like, what the hell? You've made games, you've made wearables, you've made emotes. This is amazing. I did not realize that, like, wearables was also your intro to Blender. That's crazy.
Yep.
And shout out to KJ for being an incredible resource for the community. I feel like you are one of many creators that I've talked to that like they stumble upon her YouTube and then immediately are able to start creating because of all of her resources. That's so sick.
Yeah.
I want to get into your creative inspirations because, again, like when we chatted, you mentioned Halo, you mentioned like futuristic. I feel like you're also like the perfect case study for our theme for the All About Wearables competition, which is like wearables from across the galaxy because you have dark metal base with neon glowing accents, specifically like the Grand Prix wearables that you have. I love. So I would love to hear you just like tell us more about where you pull from when you're creating.
Yeah, so as a kid, it wasn't like a great upbringing, so I was always playing video games or like
Preach.
things that were like escapism, like trying to
Oh
get away
yeah.
from reality because I didn't like the reality that I was in. And so like I always too, unfortunately, was never living in the moment. I was always living in the future, like trying to advance to the future as fast as possible because I wanted to get away from where I was at. And so I was always looking towards futuristic things because it just inspired me of like where we could be in 20, 30, 40, 500 years, So I was really sucked into, like I mentioned, Halo, but also Star Wars, like huge Star Wars nerd, like love Star Wars, the whole universe. I've seen every show, every micro show, every animation about it. And like that kind of universe where technology is just so accessible that you can really advance your identity. And
Yeah.
as a trans person, identity is everything to me. So I don't know. I love the idea of merging humans with technology and like the whole cyborg stuff. Like I'm
Yes.
fascinated with that.
Uh, so two things that you said that I want to dig into. One, like the cyborg. I like. Would you upload your brain?
Oh, absolutely. Like now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. There's going to be a few guinea pigs that go along the road before
Uh-huh.
I do, but like, absolutely, I actually have this conversation with my 81-year grandma all the time.
Stop.
Like, no
Okay.
joke. I always ask her, I'm like, Grandma, if there's a point in time where like, if you pass away and like I could bring you back and put you in a robot, would you do it? And like, she's one day she says yes, one day she says no, and we just go back and forth. I love it.
So you
I
just have
love
to
to think
ask
about that kind
her
of stuff.
on the day that you're gonna do it. Like you have to be ready when she says
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, and then the second thing that you said that is so valuable, and I've seen this across the internet, is for trans people, like metaverses. I've also seen like VR places
Yeah.
where people can feel more embodied with their identity. I think is so special, and it's something that we need to protect in these spaces.
Yeah.
um I love that. uh I also, I was so curious because you said Halo, you said Star Wars. I was curious if you played any Metroid.
Oh yeah. Oh
Okay,
yeah. But
I
that's like
get
way
Kitty
back though.
Bot, like from,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
And KJ did a great job with that. She did the skin, and then I did the vehicle, and that was a great meld of our minds, and that's totally the vibe we went for.
I love it. Um, and also because you also don't just make like, you make utility wearables. So
Hmm.
and therefore Vroomway, why racing?
So it's funny. I never like it was kind of a thing that just like happened, which most of the things that have happened in my journey into Decentraland are things that just happened. I could have never predicted them happening. And the reason I went for vehicles to begin with is because in any video game, if you can collect mounts, which is what they're called, like rideables.
Mm.
So like a big one is World of Warcraft. Played that like my
Mm-hmm.
whole life, so I have like every mount you could possibly think of there. I'm a huge collector in that sense because I like the idea of being able to traverse these metaverses in style and in creativity.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these games that have the mounts, like I don't know, it's like another extension of your identity and like what you are as that
Yes.
person. And so when I joined Decentraland, and it's still not a thing, hint, vehicles
Noted.
were not really a thing. And so I was like, wow, like there's roads here. There's like endless parcels. Why aren't there vehicles? And so I did a lot of research
Mm.
into like how vehicles could be made. And at the time they couldn't be made because they need, well, without doing it on land, like making a scene, but then it would just be tailored to that scene. And this was pre smart wearables and stuff. And so I was like, okay, well, I know how to make wearables. So like, why don't I make a vehicle wearable? I had seen a few that were like
Damn. You
treading
just
the
went
line
for
of a
it.
vehicle. I did, girl. I do on all this. I just go for it, and the curators hate me for it. um,
Always, you are pushing whatever limit is in place. You are pushing it, and I love it.
It's so awesome.
sometimes it gets me in trouble, but you like advancing forward, science.
Oh yes.
Um,
You're
and
eventually
so
going to upload your brain.
yes,
Yeah.
it was literally. And so I decided, I was like, okay, well, there's been a few wearables that have like been right on the line of being a wearable versus a vehicle. So I'm going to make like a full blown vehicle. And so that's where the original Vroom Vroom was birthed. And it was the first car wearable that was published. And it was probably one of the most controversial wearables in my time that I've been here.
Ooh.
That
Ish.
thread and that whole topic was like crazy. I mean, it was just something that the team has never had before. And so there wasn't really like strict guidelines around it. And so because it kind of like broke the bounds of like stereotypical wearables, there was a lot of red tape that I had to like shred through, not just cut, but shred through.
Go you.
And so I ended up getting that one through, and then the Model O through. I got 2 of them through, and then because it started like a trend of like everybody wanting to do a vehicle wearable, they kind of had to put like really hard boundaries on it and like say no more. And so I couldn't get any more past that, and that was a whole thing. But it all happened for a reason, because now we have smart wearables where we can do that.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
converted all of our skins to that. So it all happened for a reason, but it was really like, I think a moment in time when the wearable history of like where things really changed and people started to really like think outside the box and create really cool things. And so that's where the vehicle started. And
That's
everybody loved the
amazing.
Vroom Vrooms. So I took the Vroom Vrooms and I was like, okay, if people like this so much, like let's make an event out of this. Because at the time, like having a launch party was like a crucial thing whenever you launched a wearable. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I partnered with Wisher at the time, who helped pay for the first 3 helmets that were uniques. And I did just this like parkour course where it was just like a race between people who I did 2 different races.
Amazing.
I did one with the holders of the Vroom Vrooms. If they had a Model O or regular Vroom Vroom, they got to participate. And then I did a community wide one. And we did just this event and everybody loved it and it was a hit. And so that's where the idea of Vroomway happened. And the rest is history.
And here we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to point out 2 other times where the community has you to thank for pushing the boundaries and making things better. One was the hands, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And there was another one that I wrote in the damn
Exotic.
Yes,
Exotic.
duh.
Yeah.
The whole theme
Yep.
of all about wearables.
Yep.
Come on, Dana.
I know. I got sucked in because
It's okay. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, Nikki's been telling us all these amazing stories, so I'm like losing my place on my my guideline here.
You can always tell me to shut up, by the way. I know I
Oh
gap.
my
Like
god, no.
I go and
We
go.
are here for yapping. But before we continue,
All the yapping.
yeah, I want to reset the room. Everyone, give a 100 if you're wearing sweatpants right now. Oh my god, such fashionably dressed people. Okay.
It's
Well,
summer,
It's too
girl.
hot. It's
Yeah.
too hot. It's shorts. I'm in,
I
like,
guess that's true. I'm wearing
workout
sweatpants. So I was like,
shorts.
oh, maybe we can that's something we can all vibe to. But all right, I guess I'll just be by myself in sweatpants.
Workout shorts. It's too hot, girl.
Yeah.
And that's why the thumbs down, boo. Also, I want to welcome everybody who joined. Shelly, you've been slaying at the True Room. Tang, sending vibes for your Web3 Summit. Super Nina, we love the kimonos. Unknower Rustan, Steve Sai, all of you. I want to do like the Oprah thing where we do like you get something and you get something. It's lovely to see you all. We are here with Nikki, and we are talking about wearables and digital identity. So, Nikki, you told us about how you started. You told us about like making different things with the KJ tutorials. But I would love if you could yap some more because we are here for it. I want you to walk us through your creative process. Like, what does it actually look like if you're like, okay, I'm gonna make a shirt? Where do you start? What do you do?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think it's different for every artist. For me, um, it depends what it's for. So like I kind of have to go through a checklist of like, is this a promotional item? Is this a branding item? Like, and the difference
Mm.
between that is like if it's a promotional piece, that's just kind of like a throwaway, something for me to market and give away. or if it's a branding piece, it's something that it means a lot to me. I want it to earn money. I want it to retain value type of thing, which will typically have utility. So I try to checkbox one of those, figure out which that's going to be. And sometimes it's both. But then I decide, okay, what kind of vibe am I going for? What style am I going for? And again, I'm always like super futuristic. So I immediately start Googling different inspirations of like different types of fashion, different types of cuts, like styles of clothing and stuff like that. And then I just like I get like a mood board together, and which is really common in a lot of like art fields. I used to be a photographer and like have my own brand as like photography and
Can't
cinematography.
she do? This is why.
I'm all about the arts, girl.
Oh my god.
Anything that's expression, I'll do it.
So the mood boards, are you doing that in like Photoshop? Are you doing that in Figma? Are you doing that like what are the tools that you're using?
So back when I first started, because she was an uneducated queen, I used Photoshop for all of my mood boards because I was in Photoshop 24/7. I've used Photoshop since I was like 14, so it's been a long time of just opening that up and doodling and copy and pasting things in there. But then now I use Miro board. I use Pure Ref. It just kind of depends.
Oh no, did
typically
Nikki get rugged?
No.
Can you still hear her?
Yeah.
Oh, it's me. I'm getting
Uh-oh.
rugged. Okay. The worst.
Kim, everybody give a 100 for if you can hear Nikki.
You want to make sure I'm not rugged.
I don't see any 100s either. Okay, it's me. I'm gonna go. But have fun. I'm gonna stop interrupting.
Okay, we're getting a 100 from Doctor. Thank you, Doctor. We're getting
Okay,
100 from
100.
Okay, everybody's getting 100.
It's a little delayed. I forgot it's a little delayed.
Yay!
Got it.
Okay.
I was getting worried there. I was like, oh crap.
I know, same. It's like have all this juicy stuff from Nikki, and I want people to miss out. Okay, so it's Kim's fault. Boo, Kim.
LOL. Boo X.
Okay, but so you were saying Miro board.
Yeah, so if I'm collaborating with other people, I'll use Miro because that's a collaborative art board.
Okay.
But if it's just by myself and I'm like actively working in Blender by myself, I'll use Pure Ref because it's like a tool that sticks in the front of all of your tabs and stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like you never alt tab out of it, so it's always right there, which is good for like having that constant visualization. But yeah, I'll toggle between those two, and they can have endless amounts of pictures and stuff, so they're really great. So yeah, I'll use those for doing up the mood board. And before Midjourney, a lot of it was just like Googling pictures, or sometimes I would doodle some drawings. Like a lot of my skins I have actually sketched out because eventually I want to make them drag costumes. So yeah, I'll put them all into one board. And sometimes I'll use Procreate too to like kind of stitch those things together, or like do like slideshows so I see like progressions of things, because it's very important for me to be organized.
You're blowing my mind though with Midjourney, like how you can use that to like, so I guess once you have your mood board, do you then give like what type of prompts do you give Midjourney to like help you figure out how you want it to look?
So I have a hard time with prompts. Usually Midjourney, it helps in giving me like shapes or like a visual topology. And for those of you who don't know what topology means, that's like the way that geometry flows in a 3D object. So like a lot of times when I'm making cars, obviously I'm not like a mechanic at all, and like
so
cars
he can't
IRL.
do cars, okay?
Right. IRL. I can do them virtually, girl, but I cannot do them IRL. I don't even know what a carburetor is, stuff like that. I don't know what it is.
That you can't do, so this is good. Okay.
Yeah, so like that, if there's like things that I don't know like what it looks like from like Googling or like in my mind, then I'll just ask it to spit out something like super futuristic for me, and then I'll like understand that. A lot of times I'll take that picture, put it in Photoshop, and trace out the geometry and like completely ignore like all of the aesthetic, all the colors and stuff like that, just so that I can understand how to model, because I model in quads to where like everything starts with as a cube, and then I just model it from there. Similar to how like a potter starts with like a ball of clay, and then they like model it up, similar to that. But yeah, I'll use sometimes I use ChatGPT for prompts because it's better at like doing the long ones. A lot of my prompts are short because I don't want the AI to get confused
Mm.
because I have ADHD. So like if I let myself go, I could write a prompt that's like 6 paragraphs and it'll get so confused it doesn't even know what it's spitting out.
Oh, that's the
So I have to be
best.
very
And then
intentional.
I have to go back to chat and say, like, I'm sorry, that was on me.
Yeah, literally.
And say please and thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
ADHD
awesome.
moment.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I do thank ChatGPT for everything. Like, because I just have this thing that like AI is gonna take
No,
over,
girl,
and they're
same.
gonna know that I'm the nice one, and to not murder me and to keep me on the planet
It's
because I'm
so funny.
useful.
Kim and I were talking about that. Like when I first joined, I was like, okay, I have like a personality thing I need to know. Do you say thank you to chat? And she's like, oh, absolutely. I was like, okay, good.
Yes.
I feel like that's like one of those like okay, maybe I shouldn't say this as like a red flag, but like on a date, I feel like that's something I would ask. Like, do you say thank you to chat? If it's a no, then like we're not gonna work.
Yeah, it's totally a beige flag.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay, so back to wearables. You've kind of like walked us through how you get the initial uh like model and how you map out things for before you actually get to making the wearable.
Yep.
I'm curious, like, if people haven't made a wearable before, what types of skills do you think they need to like I guess acquire, and like where could they get those? I know you said like KJ's tutorials are awesome, but I just
Yep.
love to hear from you, like anywhere else you've pulled on.
So there is the infamous pink donut tutorial that I mentioned
Yes.
earlier. And anybody who's been in this industry for any time at all knows what this is. And some of you absolutely hate it, and some of you worship it. I live right in the middle. You know, like
Mm,
it's great, but it could be redone in a different order because it just dives. It teaches you literally everything about Blender to make a donut,
amazing.
but it's just so long. It's like hours and hours long, like the whole series. And so it's for people who are just starting out, it can be really overwhelming. It was really overwhelming for me, but I was so hyper fixated that like I was able to just push through that. And because I have ADHD, I could do these like 6 hour blocks where I could do
Yeah,
one
yeah. I
thing
was gonna
and
say
not get up.
hyperfixation definitely comes in handy there.
Yes, yes. And it did. And yeah, I mean, there's really not any like, I think the biggest skill, if you will, I
Yeah.
don't know that it's a skill, but I think the biggest thing to consider is why you want to do it. So like I
Mm,
had a mentor a long time ago tell me to know your niche, know your audience, and know yourself whenever you're going to do something. And like I think that is a huge driving force behind anything because once you know why you want to do it, then you really kind of know what it is that you want to do.
yeah.
Because if it's not already there, then you're going to know what it is. But if it's there, then you're going to know what it is and be able to adapt it and change it to make it your own.
I love
Um,
that.
so I
That's
think that's a big thing.
I think that's just in general fantastic life advice. Like for anything. Well, I guess that's what your mentor was saying, and then you applied it to Blender. But like, I think that that's such great advice. I like Tang had us on her, actually shout out to her, she does every Friday, she does like a round table of creators. But I remember she said like, what's social media advice that would I give to people? And what I said was basically what you just said, like, know why you're doing, or I guess like don't pick something you don't enjoy. Like
Right.
if you are going to make, and that totally makes sense with wearables, like if you're going to make something that I guess you want to wear and that
Right.
you are going to enjoy. That's awesome.
Yep. And that applies to like really any art form. If you're going to make art, you want to make it for yourself. You don't want to make it for somebody else because then I think there's a little bit of integrity that goes wrong, but I
Mm,
also think there's a little bit of drive that can go wrong because if you're trying to make something for somebody else all the time, then you're not really fulfilling yourself. You're just doing what somebody tells you to do. And I
mm.
think art should be all about expressing and fulfilling yourself and your own desires.
Yeah, yeah.
So which is it can be kind of hard when you have clients and stuff, but like that's why I think there's a balance of doing stuff for yourself and then also doing things for your other friends or clients or whatever it is.
Do you have like a golden ratio for yourself of like, I do this much for me and I do this much for others?
When I first started, no, and it was awful. Um,
Oh
there was a boom of like, and everybody who's in this space right now has been here since then and can attest to this, but there was a boom at the end of 2021, beginning of 2022 on this platform specifically, where there were just like dozens, maybe even hundreds. I don't know. I mean, I would think hundreds because I know how many wearables I did, but like there was just so many brands and so many artists and so many people coming on here and wanting to publish but didn't want to take the time to make their own. Either A, they didn't have the time, or B, they didn't have the skill sets, or they just wanted to get something out. Like, because learning 3D is not an overnight thing. Like I said, it took me
Yeah.
weeks and weeks and weeks. And so between January and the starting of Fashion Week, which was in March of that first year, I made over 200 wearables, and it was
Jesus
close to like
Christ.
250.
Okay.
And yeah, and I'm not the
Did
only
you
one. I know.
sleep?
No.
Yeah.
And it's because it's like it was the first time in my whole life where like I had been successful in art before, but nothing like this. Like I never had people who were just like willing to hire anybody to do these artworks and to publish these wearables and just kind of throwing money at all of us artists. And so, yeah, I just said yes to everything. And shout out to Mitchy Todd, who said that at the very beginning. He's like, just say yes to everything. That's my biggest advice. And so I did. And I said no to myself a lot. Other than like when it came to Fashion Week, I like shut down and like made my own stuff and did my own thing because Fashion Week is really important to me.
Yeah.
And it was great because I was able to like build myself up. But yeah, for like literally a month and a half, 2 months, almost 3 months, where it was just constantly working nonstop. And I actually like had things that I was handing off to Doki, and like there was things that we were tag teaming and stuff. And you know, it's crazy because some clients will like, can you make this? And then you make it and they're like, okay, can I have like 7 color variations? Or like,
Oh, damn.
can you make a male and female representation of this? And it like adds up super quick.
Yeah. And I feel like there's probably also some advice that you could give to people with like managing client expectations too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be organized, because like there was a few, like there was just so many that were happening that there was a few that I missed on the deadline and obviously lost the business because like, you know, people wanted their stuff then. And at the time there was already like a 3 to 4 week wait on curation. This was right before
Wow.
the new creators were added. So people already had to wait, put that timeline into the workflow. Like not only did they have to wait a couple weeks for you to do it, but then they had it a couple weeks to get it approved. And so if you didn't have it ready, they were just going to go on to the next person. And so there was like 1 or 2 of those, but like most of the time I stayed on top of it. And if I did forget something, I didn't sleep that night and finished it. But yeah, it helped having Doki and like passing stuff back and forth and kind of sharing that journey together. Made it
So
easier.
for people that are making their first wearable, like what does the timeline look like? Because I think also we don't want people to like not be sleeping. Learn from
Yeah, I
Nikki's
mean,
past mistakes.
yeah, right. So like I'm a psychopath, right? You got to keep that in mind. Like I am a workaholic. I will hyperfixate on things,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like that's
yeah.
just me. I would never like recommend that because it's not great mentally.
I would
Unless you like absolutely
assume.
love it like me. For me it's like a dopamine rush, but I don't know. I think it depends on the piece, you know, like I make a lot of skins, so those take quite a while. But like if it's a small piece, you really can only spend the amount of time that you need to spend, but I wouldn't my advice would be to not overthink it, because like that's what I do a lot, which adds more time and kills productivity. Um, if it's
Yeah.
something you're making for yourself, if you're happy with it, stop. But if you're making it for somebody else, make it to their expectations, stop it, send it over and wait for feedback. Don't keep guessing if they're going to like this or like that, because you're just going to waste time and then they're not going to like it and you're going to have to redo it anyway.
Yeah.
So
There's that like phrase, I can't, I think it goes something like don't let good get in the way of great or something like
yes,
that,
yeah,
where
something like that.
yeah, like so you don't want to I love your advice of like overthinking. You don't want to overthink what you've made. And also I think there's a little bit of like it can always be better or like it can always be different.
Yeah,
So and giving yourself the space to like if this is your first time, like it's okay if like it can be a happy accident. It's okay if it doesn't look 100% like what you wanted.
right.
Um like did your first I'm so curious, like did your first wearable work out 100% for you?
No.
Yeah.
So my very first wearable that I made for the marketplace that wasn't mine was a hat that I was making, but I wasn't the only one that worked on it. There was like 4 of us that worked
Oh
on it
man, too many
because
cooks.
3 of us were new. I was moving at the time, so I didn't have a ton of time. And then the really seasoned person who I worked with for a little bit, um, he ended up finishing it and making us all look bad. So it was great though, because like we learned like how not to do something versus how to do something. So
Yeah.
it was great. By the first time I published something for myself, I would say it was adequate. And like
Mm.
my very first wearables I published were the crypto auras, like for myself.
Oh my god, I love them. I wear them
And
all the
those were
time.
super easy because they were just planes and like it didn't take a lot of effort. Like it took effort to learn how to do it, but like it wasn't something that like I could highly criticize because it was just an aura. It wasn't like it was a top that needed to fit to a certain body standard
Yeah.
or something like that. It was just something that was
Wait,
universal for
I love
everybody.
this advice. I think that's such a great, like, if there's a takeaway for everybody, I love the advice of like auras first. Would you say that's a good baby's first wearable?
Absolutely. And the reason I went with ores too is because there wasn't a lot when I first started making them.
Mm.
I think there was only a handful, and I was like, these are great because like you could do so many different things with the ore. Like ores is an endless category. First of all,
Yeah.
it's not hard to conceptualize something for an aura. They're easy to make, and I even sent around to my friends a few template files of like Blender files that were already made. Like the auras were already made. You just had to swap out the texture. And so that made it easier for people who are better with 2D that didn't have to
Mm.
worry about like 3D stuff and just wanted to pump out one. I actually made Roach Killa, a couple other streamers at the time. I made them all their own crypto aura with their branding as the
Stop
dollar or
it.
whatever it was.
That's so
Um,
sick.
just to kind of inspire people, like you could do whatever you want, like with auras and stuff. So yeah, that's a great first category to go for.
If you were gonna like tier them, what's like the second and third best wearable category that you'd recommend?
Mm. Well, I think all of them are. So if you're starting out, most of the time you're going to make something from the pre-existing avatar mesh.
Mm.
So Decentraland open sources all of their avatar stuff, and you can download it from their Google Drive, which is what I did. And Doki and I actually published to the awesome repository a starter file that has all those in there, and you can basically copy the mesh and like customize it and mold it and
You're a
model it to what you
gem.
want.
I want to send that to everybody after the space.
This is how everybody that I know, this is how we all got started before a bunch of us switched to quad modeling, which is you just model from the actual avatar mesh, and that way you know that it fits.
Mm.
It's already weight painted, and like it takes out a lot of the hard parts which you learn later, and it just allows you to create immediately. And then so if you're going based just off the avatar mesh, I would say the next easiest would probably be um, the top and bottom just because they're
Mm.
easy to customize. Like I said, you're just kind of like extruding from the current existing mesh already.
Yeah.
Um, I will say though that like something that I wish I would have done more of is done a lot of male and female representation. Like I did that with the girl merch where there's a boy version and a girl version, like
Yeah.
traditional boy girl version. But now I lean like a lot of unisex just because I want something to fit for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, but I think doing it both a male and a female representation is good practice because you learn the two different styles of like anatomy.
Mm.
Whether they identify as male or female is irrelevant. It's more of like the body shape that's important,
Yeah.
and stuff that you have to take into consideration because some designs look great on a flat torso, whereas like a different one it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like I,
Yeah.
I learned I learned that when I was making the girl
This
merch,
is
like
actually
very different.
something that I enjoyed doing a lot of in Baldur's Gate 3 was
Yes.
like changing. I really like the way that the wearables in that game show on the different body types. I think they did like
Yep.
a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Yeah, with like users being able to customize how they look. I love it.
Yeah.
Um that's such I'm so happy that you brought that up because with the launch of our competition, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are making their first wearable. So I think like what you said, auras, and then also the process that you listed out of like modeling straight from the mesh is like that's so good. before we get into like the final piece, I'm genuinely so sad, Nikki, that this is only an hour. I like want to talk to you about games at a different time because I feel like we have a similar background just from like
Yeah, you said Baldur's Gate 3 and you got me
I
perked, girl.
know. But I'm just gonna reset the room real quick for everybody. We're talking with Nikki. She is a all-around meta girl. She's amazing. Uh, she's contributed so much to the Decentraland community. So go ahead and give her a follow if you don't already follow her. And then also, if you're enjoying, we'd love it if you would reshare the room with everybody. We're talking about wearables in Decentraland, and then also how they help people express their identity. And this is like something that I've been super excited to talk to you about, Nikki, because you've also been very vocal about how important digital identity is to you. So I'd love to get your take on like how you think wearables play a part in self-expression, and you can take that like any way you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said earlier, for me, it's huge. It's like everything when it comes to the digital world. Mostly because like, and again, this is just my experience as a trans person. It hasn't ever been really safe for me
Mm-hmm.
to be openly trans in where I live. And even growing up, when I knew that I wasn't just a cis male, like
Mm-hmm.
I I knew that I was different, but I couldn't express that. But in video games, I was all out, girl. I was being whoever the
Yes.
hell I wanted to be. And so I think owning that identity, and it helps develop your IRL identity because it shows you what you want to be. And for me, what a lot of this is it makes me feel powerful. It makes me
Yeah.
feel like I can do anything, and that helps
Which
me
we
with my
already know that
day-to-day
you
life.
can. We've talked about all the things that you're doing. Um yeah, I want to like double click on this a bit because I like I said earlier, I've seen so many studies specifically for trans youth that like games and virtual worlds are a huge access point for them to being able to like come into themselves. And I remember like seeing this VR experience. Actually, Nikki, I'll send it to you after. But it was a part of the Tribeca experience a couple years back, and it
Mm,
basically like let people customize their body in
mm,
VR and then like look in a mirror. And so I think like
wow.
yeah, I know. Like, so it's so beautiful that we can create these virtual spaces for people where they can feel more embodied and a part of themselves. Um, and Nikki, just like going into specifically Decentraland, I'm curious, like, when you first started, like, how did the wearables and self expression and the fact that you could make things in for Decentraland, like, how did that help you or like how did it change your self-expression? I'm curious.
So for me, and I say this, I don't say this loosely and I don't see it cliche, but like this whole journey has literally changed my life, like drastically transformed it because before I joined Essentially, I was only in my transition for like 6 months before. So it
Oh
was very, very
wow.
early into my transition
Yeah.
of like realizing like this is who I want to be, like whatever. And so coming into this and like already being able to present as female like every single time that I'm interacting with people where like I said I can't hear, or at least I don't feel safe to do here.
Yeah.
Um that was a huge step in like giving me the confidence to do that, and then being able to literally like create these not only just like clothes but like personas that I want to embody. Like
Love.
I think I think that's why drag is so important to me because there's these characters that I can embody. There's these auras that I can embody and present myself as that make me feel a certain way and help me with my confidence.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm able to literally like live that out and be able to explore that and to figure out what works, what doesn't work, what is me, what isn't me.
Yeah.
Um, and then really like what's been really affirming is the way that people have treated me. Like for the majority of part, I've been treated so immensely fairly. Like
Oh,
I've
I'm so
never been
happy to hear
treated as
that.
well as I have in Decentraland as I have in my real life. So like it's given me a lot of like insight of like, okay, like I need to be okay with accepting love, and I also need to understand that the people who aren't willing to give me that love, that I don't need to give that to them. Like I'm not
Preach.
gonna settle for people treating me the way
Everyone
that
give
I don't want
Nikki
to
a
be treated.
100 for that. That was fire. I think that's, yeah, you're giving us all therapy therapy session right
Let's turn
now.
it therapy real quick.
Oh, that's awesome. This also just like hearing you talk about, because I feel that for myself, like, and this is also why I don't really like Zuckerberg's ideas for, well, maybe this is a hot take, but like this
LOL.
is Dana. Yeah, I guess it's happening. This is Dana talking, not the Decentraland. But like, I don't think that we want to be one to one with our
No,
avatars. Like, we want, like, I can't do a backflip in real life. In Decentraland, I equip, look at me, and I'm fucking flying. Like,
right.
that's the existence that I want.
Yep.
And I think like that's also why I would say specifically your wearables have resonated so much with people. Like the Kitty Bot wearable, when I put it on, I feel so badass. I think like you've tapped into a form of self expression that's like confident, cool. When I was like thinking about words to describe your wearables, I was like, it's the three W's. It's like wacky, wild, and wonderful. Because I think yeah, like there's something about your wearables that just totally give confidence. I'm curious to hear from you. Like, why do you think your wearables have resonated so well?
Well, I think it's because I put all of me into it.
Mm.
I don't let a lot of external things affect how I view my art. I'm very self-critical. A lot of my friends know that about me. I criticize my art all the time, but I criticize it with a sense of love because like I love what I do. And I think when you love what you do and you put that fully into it, and that's the first thing, I think that resonates through the whole thing. Um,
Mm.
and I have this obsession with like, in both in the trans world and in the cis women world, women are highly oppressed in the sense of like social norms and standards and stuff. And so I like to live in that female empowerment,
Mm.
of like embracing that super badass woman, but also like in areas like machinery and tech that you wouldn't normally see that empowerment. So that's why I like do a lot of female looking machinery stuff, or female sort of gender neutral type of stuff, but then also
Yes.
hyper feminism stuff. Like it's just all about empowering that like stature that we all want to be. And then it's also got this undertone of like the societal standard that is never possible, but it is possible in the digital world because you can be whoever you want. And I think people getting a little bit of a taste of that and feeling that, I think resonates a lot.
That
At least I hope it
speaks,
does.
no, that like 100% speaks to me. I think like your your line of clothing, what did you say? Like you said I'm not gonna do a good job of quoting you, but like the embodiment of like feminine energy in
Yeah.
your and like the empowerment of that, definitely I get that. um oh yeah, it's the three W's. It's weird, wacky, and wonderful. I'm like sticking with that. They're
And
so
that's the
good.
energy that like I've literally blocked my whole life because
Mm.
it wasn't normal. Like in anything that wasn't normal wasn't accepted, both in my family and in this area. Like, and so finally being able to step into it full force and like really living in that and living in that just self love is like the best dopamine feeling ever.
Amazing. And also, I think what you said about like being, if Decentraland is somewhere where like you feel more empowered by what you wear, is there a way that you can take that into your IRL existence? I think that's also like a lovely thing that I'm going to take away from this conversation because I think it's so empowering. Um just for like the last 10 minutes, I have a couple like rapid fire questions.
Okay.
I want to know what your favorite wearable is of all time.
Oh my God. How
This
dare you?
one I didn't send in the like approval doc because
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
didn't.
yeah.
Oh man. Wow, that
Hot
is a
seat.
really, really hard question. I mean, I have
Okay, how about we
s-
change it? How about we do like top three?
okay. How about we do what I own? Because there's a ton that I don't own that I
Okay,
love, but
okay, okay. Yeah.
I would say that my favorite that I own is my unique top that
Ooh.
Doki actually gifted for me for my birthday last year, which was fucking crazy.
Oh, we love
Um,
it.
she's gifted me two uniques now, which is my hair and my top, and so like I wear that everywhere now because like nobody else can, bitch. What? Uh,
Just flexing on us all.
yeah, literally. But no, I think it's so great. It was the top was made by Dapcraft, and they were in
Oh,
my Fashion Week show,
amazing.
my runway show last year. They were one of the artists that I um put on, and I mean their wearables are typically like always A quality, but like this specific collection that they did for Fashion Week last year was like literally 100% my vibe, where it was like future fashion, like high fashion, but like futuristic.
Yeah.
And like this was one of my favorite pieces in the line. So I just love it. I think the wrinkles on the sleeves, it's what I'm wearing right now on stage.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Um,
looking at it.
it's the wrinkles, the leggings, like the puffer ankles. Like I don't know. I just fucking live for this. Like if I could wear this IRL, I would
Yes.
have no problem going out on town like
Yes.
dressed however. You know what I mean? Like this is so empowering and so fierce. Like I fucking love it.
I am obsessed with like over exaggerated um it like areas even like in real life fashion. Like I
Yes.
love an over exaggerated shoulder, and I think
Yes.
like the puffers on the bottom, like
Yep.
it gives that hourglass shape, so like your
Yeah.
whole look, and it's so slay. um
In drag, we call that proportionizing.
Ooh,
Yeah, and I love it.
educating.
Yeah.
Okay, new word. Um, so that's what do we say? You do the top three. So you said hair. You
Yep.
said I'm guessing the pants and the shirt. That's your favorite three.
Well, the pants and shirt are one item, so that's technically one wearable.
Oh, got
Um,
you.
I would say
Damn, you
the
got a
wear
bodysuit. That's
yeah,
sick.
for real, right.
Oh,
And it's
jealous.
unique, so like, come on. Um,
Not to brag.
yeah, and this next one I'm not just saying because we're best friends, but I genuinely mean this, and this is you can go to the beginning of this space and hear this, but like literally anything made by Dr. Drip is like
Oh,
I fangirl over because it's the RGB stuff that I just fucking live for. Like I love rainbow neon,
yes.
and he fits it in well with everything he does. I wear this backpack and these earbuds. Those are two wearables, whatever. I wear these like pretty much with all of my outfits because I think they're just so badass.
Yes.
And they're just so well done. And yeah, anything that is like neon and futuristic and like vibey, like I fuck with.
Yes. Like, and so clearly, I can't wait to talk with Dr. Drip next week, because like when you look at his like past in streetwear and also in lighting, it's like, yeah, you're clearly nailing it in the metaverse. Like you know
Yeah,
exactly what to do.
that's somebody who knows their niche, knows their audience, knows themselves, girl.
Yeah, 100%. That's another thing that like, yeah, I love how you keep reiterating to people that it's like that is key when you're designing in the metaverse.
Yeah.
Um okay, so that was rapid fire number 1. Rapid fire number 2 is, and this is like, I feel like I'm going to stump you again so we can customize the question,
Oh
but
no.
if you could make anything like wearable
Ooh.
wise in the metaverse, it doesn't have to like just be Decentraland, but like what would you make?
Every single Lady Gaga costume from every single one of her music videos.
Oh
Like
my god.
if I
The
could
meat
ever do a collab with
suits?
Lady Gaga, I would literally cease to exist. Like I would just puff into a cloud of sparkles and never exist ever again.
Ooh, that's such a good
And
answer.
especially she just did teasers for her new album, and it was like this boxy, like original Mama Monster type of vibe. And
Okay,
I was like,
currently
that
on
has to be a fucking
Google.
Fashion Week wearable. Like that has to be it. Like there's she belongs in every runway and every fashion scene in the whole world. Like everything that she does is so like out of the box, futuristic. It's and I think a lot of subconscious comes from Gaga, but I didn't want to be cliche and say Gaga.
Yeah.
that's that's what every
No, oh
queer
my
person
god. Is
says.
it cliche or is it like so
Well,
accurate?
it's just like so typical for queer people to be obsessed with Gaga because she's like an icon in
Oh
the community.
yes.
So
My favorite, I just recently watched her video where she like did with Vogue where she goes through all of her looks. And the
yes,
one that like killed me was when she came to, I was an awards show, literally in like a little spaceship thing, and she had people
yes,
like carrying her. Like,
yes,
what? It's so
literal
iconic.
icon.
Yes, literal icon. Okay. So,
Yes, that's my wearable dream.
okay. So maybe like, maybe eventually we'll see Nikki walking in like the space bubble being
God, I
carried.
would die.
Yeah. That'd be so awesome. Okay. So I am going to close out with just like all of the thanks for all that you've done for this community. I think, you know, like we have so many people here that have benefited from what you've done. I think just to reiterate, like Nikki is the reason why we have the exotic category in Decentraland, and that's the
Which we didn't even get to
theme.
talk about.
Oh my god. Okay, well, like, I guess
We didn't get
like
to talk about that or hands.
yeah,
Damn.
give us the, with the time we have left, give us like the why behind both of them.
I didn't want to hijack, but I just basically like any video game that you play, you have like hand equipables things, and I think it's so important to have like the hand expression, not to just
Yeah.
include it in upper body, but also gives us more tries to play with the upper body and then separate tries for the hands. And I think all around it's just better for more categories to have more self-expression and to diversify the market a little bit.
Yeah.
And then with the rarity, I did that because after having so many clients through 2022 and having that huge blow up, a lot of the times like 10 was way too little and 100 was way too much for some of these artists that like were coming from different platforms, didn't have an audience, but they wanted to sell out. And so 50 just felt like a great in between. And yeah, so I championed that
Looking at
for a
it
really long time.
now, I'm like, duh. Like that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I think that makes so much sense.
Yeah. So I championed that really hard and I didn't shut up until it happened. So
Yeah, which
that's
like,
that's my thing. I don't shut up until things happen.
go you. I think like, yeah, if I can like add my 2 cents, I hope this inspires everybody to do, do we call it pulling a Nikki, but like don't shut up until like,
Be fuego about
yeah,
it.
be playing about it. Yes, I love it. Like please, like I think with the Decentraland, that's part of the beauty of what we have here is the fact that like you have a say, you have ownership. So like please tell us, and don't shut up about it. Like be fuego about it. That's a new catchphrase. Okay, love it. Nikki, it's been so lovely. Like I feel a little bit spoiled that I got to talk to you for so long. You're so amazing. You're just a force of creativity in this space. And I hope everybody gives you a follow. Everyone give Nikki a heart or a 100 or a clap because
I
she,
do have some thanks that I want to give.
holy shit. Okay.
First of all, I want to thank you because I think you've been doing an amazing job since joining the foundation.
Oh,
I
thanks,
think I
Nikki.
think we've needed you for a really long time, so I'm so happy that you're here.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm very spoiled myself to have a whole hour just for me. Like I don't feel worthy, but
Oh
thank
my
you.
god, stop. We just went over all the
So
things you did.
and so I appreciate that, and I appreciate everybody who's here. A lot of people who are in the space have been homies with me since day one. And you guys know who you are. And if it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't be in this position and my life wouldn't be changed. So even if we're not homies, if you've been nice to me, anything nice you've ever said, I've remembered.
Hmm.
And so thank you for doing that. And thank you for helping change my whole direction in life and everything about me. And I learned from every single one of you every single day. So never stop giving love and never stop being kind. And special thanks to Foundation, because I see there's a few Foundation people in here. Thank you for putting up with my bullshit and thank you for putting up with my bitching. I know I come off very passionate, but I promise it's always passion and it's never like 100% anger. There's like 2% anger there, but there's like 90% passion. So I love everything that's happened. It's all happened for a reason, and I'm excited to where it goes for the future.
Amazing. I'm gonna call it there. Thank you so much, Nikki, and thank you everybody who came and hung out with us. And we can't wait to see what you do with All About Wearables. Just real quick, shilling the contest. We have a contest going on right now, and everybody, you get fully reimbursed for your first wearable that you contribute to the contest. So please, show us what you can do. And Nikki gave some amazing tips. Just to reiterate something she said, auras are like a great place to start. And if you're designing a top or a bottom, she said like pulling straight from the mesh is a great way to start. So, and shout out to KJ for all of the amazing YouTube tutorials. But yeah, this has been just so lovely. And now, Nikki, we need to like talk offline about all the games. So yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Bye everyone. Have a great
Thank you guys.
Wednesday.
Love you, everybody.
Yeah, XOXO. Bye.